You good? That's good.
I'm ready.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, you know, Charlie and I have been working out here for 4 hours. I'm tired. Charlie's tired. But I got a very important announcement to make.
Absolutely.
Very important announcement. Tonight, which is March 9th, you all know Professor Fred Dunn. Tonight, Professor Dunn is going to be Zooming with myself and the Dirt Rooster tonight. He is going to be making a video on that, and it will be on his channel. It should be on his channel by Friday, I think. It should be posted on his channel. But speaking of Fred Dunn, and I got to put this in as well. On March 29th, that's in 20 days from now, I will be in Pueblo, Colorado. Pueblo, Colorado, at the Pueblo County Beekeepers Association conference. It's a one-day conference, and you know, I'll be there, but guess who else is going to be there? Professor Fred.
Ah.
But, Charlie, get this.
What's that?
You know, as famous as Professor Fred is?
Yes.
Professor Fred is only going to be there on Zoom. Mr. Ed is going to be there live.
Live.
So Mr. Ed will be live, but Professor Fred, he will be on Zoom. So those folks that are in the Colorado area, the Pueblo area, Colorado Springs, March 29th, the Pueblo County Beekeepers Association Conference in Pueblo, Colorado. All right, that's it, Charlie. Now let's get on to the video.
Thanks for watching.
No, Charlie. Hello, Mr. Ed here. Charlie, come on, they got to know you're here, Charlie. We got to at least get him in the frame because he's not going to be in frame very much today.
I took a day off from fishing.
No, it's windy. It's windy outside, Charlie. You can't go fishing today anyway.
I've got spots. I got places I can go.
So let me tell you what we're going to be doing today. Today is March 9th, 2025, and it is the beginning of what I call the bee season, where we are actually going to start the process of growing our bees. In fact, March 9th today, they've already been growing in our hives. In fact, I've already done about 28 or 29 dividing boards here at the Abbey. I finished the Abbey already, at least putting the boards in it, and that's really what we're going to be talking about today is double screen dividing boards. But before we begin that, I really want to make comment on the fact that why are we even contemplating doing splits? What's the purpose of doing splits?
I've always asked that question.
Well, I know you still continue to ask that question. Why do we do splits? I mean, so what? It's a perpetual thing that the hive just keep growing. Your bee yard keeps growing and growing, and it can, but there's ways to prevent that. But for me personally, and this is where I'm speaking personally for what my needs are for keeping the bees for the monks here at the Abbey. My primary concern for the bees is to grow them in order for us to be able to have a sustainable honey harvest for the entire year. So for that to happen, I need about 400 to 450 gallons of honey every year.
Every year.
Every year. And that, I mean, it's not a lot, but for most beekeepers, that's a whole lot. But since we try to keep honey in the gift shop all year round, that's the number that I need. So to figure what do you need to get 450 gallons of honey a year, I figure on an average each hive has to produce 4 gallons. So at 4 gallons per hive, how many hives do we need?
A lot.
How many?
150.
Well, we need 100 because 100 times 4
But yeah,
is 400. Well, not all of your hives are going to produce honey.
That's right.
They're not all going to produce honey. So to make up for that fluctuation of those that make honey and those that don't, I give a buffer of 50 hives.
Yeah.
50 hives.
They all produce honey, but not all of them will produce 4 gallons of honey.
The
So
surplus.
150 hives gives us what we need.
So that's what we want, 150 hives. Well, right now, we've probably got 130 hives out there that have the potential of being split, but not all 130 are going to be splittable, because they're just not grown up. So what we do to facilitate the bees to split them so that they won't swarm, because in my opinion, if your bees swarm, there goes your honey. And so I do everything in my power not to get the bees to swarm out of that box. I want to capture the old queen, move her off the box, because it's generally that old queen that is going to produce honey for us.
That's it.
The new queen, sometimes you'll probably get about 25% of the time where the new queen will be able to produce a surplus of honey. But generally I find that it's the old queen because she's already up and running at the very beginning of the year. And that's the important part right there, at the very beginning of the year. So what we want to do is to get our bees to make their queens as early as possible.
Yeah.
And the reason we want them to get their queen early as possible is because it gives them that time to build up prior to the nectar flow. Because with honey, it's all about timing. And you have to understand this. It's all about having the workforce in that hive, the bees in that hive, to create the surplus of honey. If you don't have the workforce in the hive, you're not going to have a surplus. So by getting a new queen in the hive as soon as possible, that increases the chance of you creating a surplus honey.
Yep.
You got that?
Oh yeah.
You got all that?
I got it figured out now.
So to do that, because I don't buy queens.
No.
No, I don't buy queens. I prefer, and I've been doing this ever since I've been started, I prefer our bees to make their own queens. Now, for those that don't really aren't familiar with what I do here at the Abbey, we run a treatment-free operation. Basically, it's a hands-off operation. We do a little bit of work, a little bit of manipulation in the springtime to grow the bees. We add space to them, but the bees are on their own. I don't treat, I don't feed, I don't do anything. I let the bees take care of themselves. It's not a process, a method that I recommend people do, but it works for me here at the Abbey, and I've been doing it now here at the Abbey since 2012. And we've been able to grow the apiary, and it's been successful in that method of doing it. I don't recommend it. It's very chancy, but it works for me. And I have no objections. In fact, I encourage the treating of your bees if that's how you need to do it. So I've got no problem with treating bees. I just prefer not to take up the time, my time, to do all this. The bees can do it. I just need a little bit extra cushion to produce that honey that I want.
That's it.
So Charlie, if you get on the camera, I'm gonna go ahead. I want to explain the process of how I do making splits. When I began keeping bees up here, it's when I first learned about the double screen dividing board, and I build my own double screen dividing boards. And what it is, it's a very simple tool that particularly beginning beekeepers can use to successfully make a split in their hive. It is extremely, extremely simple and very, very successful in letting the bees to create their own queens. And first I'll go ahead and show you. So this is what a double screen dividing board looks like, and I build these myself. All it is a piece of 3/4 inch plywood, and then on each side of that plywood I place mosquito screen, and that's what I use. You can use any kind of material. In fact, you don't even have to keep it this big. You could have just a surface area of this big with screen in it. It's just easy for me to do it this way. There's many, many ways of making a screen board, double screen dividing board. This is just the way I make mine. What is unique about using a double screen dividing board is, and what makes it work, is that distance, that 3/4 of an inch distance. Now, oh yeah, let me show you this part too. So right here, I've also added a entrance. This is this cutout right here. Let me show you. That cutout right there will become the entrance to the hive, because what we do is when we place the screen board between the two boxes, then this entrance right here is placed to the opposite end of the original entrance, so that way the bees have two different entrances into their hive, and it separates the hive as that way. So speaking of separation, that is what the double screen dividing board does. It creates a separation between the bottom and the top, and that separation will not allow the bees to touch each other. And that way of not allowing bees to touch each other is what actually stimulates the bees into thinking we do not have a queen. So in one of those boxes there's a queen, one of them there isn't. And the one that doesn't, because the pheromone, even though it's still in the box, the pheromone is still in the box, but they're not touching and spreading it, then the one box that does not have the queen, those bees think we don't have a queen, we need to make a queen. And so when they do that, they form emergency cells. And that emergency cell becomes the new queen for that box. So that's the reason why the bees will make a new queen. Now, you don't even have to use a double screen dividing board to do a split. Why this method is so easy, particularly for new beekeepers, is because it requires no skill whatsoever, which is why I can do it so well. That all you're doing is simply taking off, separating your two brood boxes, two deep brood boxes, and then putting this screen in it. You don't look for anything. Well, there's only one thing that I look for, that we have enough bees in both the top box and the bottom box that we can warrant putting the screen in. Because if there aren't enough bees in the box, you can't make the split. So I look to have minimally six frames of bees in the top box and in the bottom box. And if that criteria is met, boom, I'm going to put one of these boards in it. And the reason why I want 6 frames of bees in both boxes, because by that point of time, our old queen has now gone between the top box and the bottom box, laying. Right in the center of the hive, she's laying in there at this time of the year. And so because we have eggs and larvae in both boxes at the same time, then at that point we can then insert this screen, and then the bees will be able to create that emergency cell from one of those eggs or larvae that are in the box that does not have the queen. So that's how this works. However, you don't even have to use a double screen divide board. You can just take those two boxes and whoop, separate them and move one box away from the other box, and you've made a split. Now the problem, well, it's not a problem. There are many beekeepers that do that, because you don't have to go through the box individually, pulling out frames of honey, frames of brood, frames of pollen, putting it all together, getting everything tried to balance out. You don't have to worry about that, because all you're going to do in either using the walkaway split or the double screen, you're just going to pick the box up. If you're using double screen dividing board, slip it between it. If you're doing a walkaway, take one box, move it over, boom, you're done. Now, what is required with using the double screen dividing board is we have to come back within 7 to 10 days. We have to come back and open up these boxes and look to make sure that we have the emergency cell in that box. And this is where the double screen dividing board has a big advantage over a walkaway split. If we find no emergency cells in either one of the boxes, either because there wasn't brood in there young enough for them to make one, or for whatever reason, if that should happen, because we were using this double screen dividing board, we can pull the double screen dividing board and just rejoin that colony. And since they've been sharing that pheromone the whole time, it's like everything is good again. And then you can come back another week or two and then try again to use your double screen dividing board. With the walk-away split, if you come back and find, well, you don't have any emergency cells in that box that was queenless, you can't rejoin them. Well, you can, but you have to do some work to be able to rejoin those hives. But with the double screen dividing board, you just simply drop them back down, make them one hive again. So it's very, very good. Also, because it's March and we still get cool days and chilly days, I think we're pretty much over the frosts, but still it gets cool and there's brood in the box, and the real benefit, another benefit of using the double screen dividing board is that shared heat from the bottom box and the top box. They share warmth, which will then facilitate keeping the brood alive. So that is the whole deal on the double screen dividing board. I have been using this, I was taught this method back in about 2007, and I have been using it ever since. And I teach how to use the double screen dividing boards when I go to conferences, because it is by far the simplest and easiest way to do it. Now, what Charlie and I are going to be doing today, we're going to be going out to our St. Michael yard. We have about 35 hives out there. So hopefully we're going to be able to do, I don't know how many hives. I'm hoping we're going to be able to do at least 25 of them that will be ready at this point, because that's what I found here at the Abbey. Almost 80% of them were ready. So hopefully we'll find the same ratio out there and we'll be able to get these boards in it. And before we go out there, I want to show you some of the tools that I'll be using to do our splits. So we have our tools in the little bucket right here. And you're definitely going to need a smoker, because the bees just, well, it's cool right now. They're just not going to appreciate the intrusion. So a little puff of smoke, and I don't use smoke very often, but when I do splits, I have my smoker ready because I'm going to use it. So to light our smoker, a little propane. Now, I always have just emergency tools, so pry bar and a hammer, that's always a good thing to have. A frame lifter, I don't really use it all that often, but sometimes I do, but it's nice to have it in there. Oh, you know what I forgot, Charlie, is my frame holder, so we got to find that. I have a drill because some of our boxes still have screws in them that need to get undone. Of course, some hive tools. A bee brush is a very good idea to have with you, just to brush off the bees. And then one thing that I use, and a lot of people know about it from me showing it, but it's right here. The prison shank, or, well, that's what the 628 dirt rooster calls them, is a prison shank. And when we get out into the field, I'll show you how I use it. But basically, I take the point of the blade and stick it between boxes. And what happens is the bees build bridge comb between the bottom box and the top box, and the frames are connected because of that bridge comb. You can't even separate the boxes. So this tool, I stick it between the boxes, and that allows a gap where I can take my hive tool and pop the frames, separate the frames from each other, and then I can lift off the box. So it's a great tool. And unfortunately, I don't know anybody who sells these things. I know there are some people that make them. I make these myself. But I've been trying to get John Hill at Hillco interested in making these things, because, I mean, these things are very, very, very useful tool. Now, the other thing that I do and recommend is that you bring a bucket with you. And this bucket is brought with us because all that burr comb that I'm scraping off of these frames, and it's a lot, I save it because this is going to, I'll be able to melt all this wax down and then use that wax later. In fact, after Charlie and I do all of our splits, the video that I'm going to make is showing you how much burr comb that we got in the block of wax that we got from it. The other thing that you're definitely going to want is a good pair of gloves and a bee suit. So those are the basic tools. Now, when Charlie and I get out there, we'll show you how we're doing this so that you'll get a little bit more familiar with it. But also today, since I'm out there doing this, I also replace equipment that's in need of replacement. So we've loaded up a couple of extra hide bodies, deep hide bodies, as well as inner covers, bottom boards, and telescoping covers as well. So by the grace of God, me and Charlie are going to get out to the St. Michael's yard, and we're going to go through these hives and split them, and you all are going to be right there with us. Charlie, are you ready to go out to St. Michael's?
I'm ready.
All right.
Let's do it.
We're going out of there. All right, well, I did find my old one, not the one I really do like, but I don't even know if we're really going to be using this today, but I want it with me. But we definitely want to bring our hive lift. It just makes the job so much easier. All right, so Charlie and I are going to put all this stuff in the van, and we're going to pick this video up at the St. Michael's yard. All right, Charlie and I finally made it up here, and I'm going to tell you a little secret, because I told Charlie, I said, I don't want to look bad when we're doing this split, so we already did about 4 of them in the front yard, so that we kind of get our sea legs on this stuff, so that we don't look like we're complete idiots when we're doing it. But we'll waddle through it. So we got a bunch of hives back here, and we're just going to go through them all. And I'll walk you through what I see and what's going on in my little mind as I go through these. So as you can see, all of our boxes, we run double deeps. That's what our brood boxes, and we go through the winter. Once we hit December, we bring all of our hives down to 2 hive bodies, in preparation for what we're doing right now. And that way, come springtime, our hives will be in the position for us to put in a double screen dividing board. So we lift off our lid, and you see all the bees just coming out of here. To me, that's the first sign that this hive is ready to be split. Now, normally people would pop their inner covers. I don't like popping the inner cover. The main reason I don't like doing it, well, there's 2 reasons. One, I don't want to release the hive beetles that are trapped underneath the lid. And the second is that when we put smoke in here, and I do put a little bit, it's going to push the bees up. Well, this inner cover is going to prevent the bees from overflowing on the sides of the box. So for me, I found it's just best to leave my inner cover on. I'm already, in my mind, I know this box is ready to be split just from the numbers. So I still have to make sure that when I split the box, I've got enough bees, 6 frames of bees in the bottom, but I know it's going to be there. In fact, there's going to be lots of bridge comb and stuff. I already just feel that already. So I'm going to grab my smoker, and normally I would put a little smoke in here, but since they're not coming out after me, I'll leave that alone. And I work off of the backside of the hive, and I set up a box right here just as a platform, because what I'm going to do is when I separate these boxes, I'm going to take this box right here and stand it up on its edge so that I can look inside the frames to count my frames of bees, as well as to scrape off any of the bridge comb that's in there. So here we go. So I just put my hive tool in the back, and you heard all them bees. And now, so here's an example right here. This is where I'm going to use my hive shank. Because I can't get this box up because those frames are next to each other, I take my hive tool, my shank tool, and I slip it right inside of there like that. Now that it's in position, it's separating my two boxes right here. And you can see this frame right here is stuck, this frame right here is stuck, and possibly that one. So with that hive tool in place, I can put my hive tool in there and pop down. And this is what breaks the connection, allowing me now to be able to lift this box off of here. Let me put a few puffs of smoke in there, even though I don't think it's even necessary. And now I'm going to lift this box off and set it on this box right here. And it's heavy. Man, oh man, look at the bees in this box. Look at the honey that's on that bridge comb. Now, normally I would see drone brood in here, but they don't have any drone brood built. But based on the number of frames that I see in there, which is really, it's only 1, 2, 3, 4. And these don't really have anything on it, and these don't. So this hive is not ready. In my opinion, it can go another 2 weeks before we're ready to split it. So we're going to put it back together. There's no point in rushing this. But we want to have successful split. Now this is fine. It's just not ready yet. Just a good example. It looks like it's ready, but one of the giveaways for me as well is when I find the drone brood built inside of the bridge comb. When you find that, when you find drones in there, well, they're ready. And generally you'll find swarm cups on the top box, but I don't have any evidence of any of that stuff right now, so we're good. We're just going to put this one back together. And that's that. And we'll just, because what I do when I'm finished this yard, I come back and I mark in my book what I've done in here, whether the hive wasn't ready to get split or whether I put a board in it. So that way I know what's going on in the yard. Now we're going to move on to the next one. Let's see what we got going. And I use the lid is what I'm going to use to put on my box on the ground just as a height thing. So I can just take this box and set it on there. Now, just looking at this, it looks really encouraging. We've got a lot of bees up there. Let's go ahead and separate our box and try to move it. That one just broke free. Didn't need to use the shank on it. Gonna pull this up. Oh, there you go. This one meets all the criteria of doing a split. Come see this. We'll look at our top box first. So this is what I was talking about. The drone cells, the drones themselves, are being laid in between the bridge comb. So you can see where they are. And this is a good time to check to see, check if you find any mites on this, because this is where you're going to find them. And then also another sign of the box ready to be split. You see the queen cups. These are just cups. They're not. There's nothing in them. But this is just the sign that eventually they're going to draw these cells out, and the queen is going to lay an egg in it. But we're probably a week away from that happening. So by us putting in the double screen dividing board on this hive, we are pushing this hive, we're saving it in essence 10 days of getting a queen into this new box down here, because I'm assuming our queen's going to be up here. That 10 days is a lot when you think of the time of a nectar flow, because 10 days, if your nectar flow may only be 30 or 40 days, 10 days, it's a quarter or a third of that. So we want to get a queen in these boxes as quick as we can. So let me go ahead and show them the number of bees on this hive. Look at this. This is just beautiful. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to put some smoke on these girls right here, push them down. I should say 90% of the time when I do a split and put the dividing board in it, our queen is going to be in this top box at this time of the year because she's already moved up and she's laying in this box. But at the same time she's laying in this box, she's generally laying in the center of the hive. So she's laying in the top box and dropping down and laying in the bottom box. Generally it's within these 3 or 4 frames, right in the center of the box. That's where she's laying. So she's going bouncing back and forth between them. And that's why we can do a split to create emergency cells, because she went down in this box and was laying in there. And again, like I said earlier, if our queen happens to be in this box and not this box, we can always rotate the boxes again to get the queen on the top, because we want her on the top to move her off the hive, because that again discourages the hive from swarming. By moving the queen off, we take all of her work bees away from it, because when we move this box on top, all the field bees that were up here, they're going to come back to this box thinking that their hive is right here. So that's another way of what we say demoralizing our queen by stealing her workforce. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this one up, drop the bottom board, the double screen dividing board in there, and I'll show you how we're doing all that. And I want to drive these bees off of this bridge comb because I don't want to hurt them. And I'm going to scrape all of this stuff off. You need to have a clean surface between this box and the other box with no bridge comb on it. You want it completely clean, which is why we bring our bucket. Because with our bucket by us, we can just take our bridge comb, scrape it off, and put it into our bucket, because we're going to save it and we're going to melt this stuff. And then, because I'm figuring I'm going to have to come back into this box to look for our emergency cells, I want to knock off all this propolis on the ends, because I'm going to have to be pulling these frames out of here. So this has to come off regardless. So we take this off, and that way we'll be ready in a week when I come back to look for emergency cells. So that's all cleaned off. Now we're going to grab our double dividing board. One thing I did fail to mention when I was talking about the double dividing boards, it's very, very important that the screen, when you put your screen on your board, that you carry the screen all the way to the edges. And that way, if the screen is all the way to the edges, the edge of our boxes are going to be sitting on that. And there's no way that the bees can get into this space right here, because remember, we don't want the bees to be able to touch each other. So by bringing your screen all the way to the edge, you will prevent the bees from getting inside of this space in between the two screens. And in years past, I did have that problem where sometimes I'd open up the box and this area would have, literally, it would have dozens of bees in between here. So that's a no-no. You want to make sure you don't let that happen, and you do that by bringing your screen all the way to the edge. So we simply place our double screen dividing board on the box like that. Right now our entrance is right here on the hive. But what we're going to do to create the simulation of a new hive, we don't want the bees in this box to use that entrance, so we put the entrance to the rear of the box. And that way, when I place this box on top of here, this will become the entrance for this hive. So we got our board on here. Now I've got to clean up all the bridge comb on here. Look how many bees are in this box. My goodness. So again, I'll have to put a little smoke on them, drive them up, So here's where the really good thing of why I do not take the inner cover off. When you put smoke on them, these bees will just push all the way through if this cover is off. So I leave the cover on, and that way I contain the bees inside of the box. Yeah, they'll come out of the hole, but it's manageable. So we got all that taken care of. Now we just scrape this stuff off. So now all the bridge comb is off the bottom of that frame, but we need to remove all this other comb in between the frames. And the reason being because this is where they're going to draw their swarm cells, from this stuff right here. So I'm going to cut all this stuff out. I only have to go in 1/4 of an inch. I want to clean it all up, and that way it's going to extremely discourage the bees from building any more swarm cells. Plus, since we've got a dividing board in there and half the bees are going anyway, they're not going to want to do it anyway. So it's just a matter of running my hive tool down both edges of the frame. And pulling it out. So as you can see, it is all cleaned up, and there's not going to be any issue of comb touching our screen on our double screen dividing board. So now, after this is all done, it's time to, well, let's go ahead and pick up all of our wax. We're already getting quite the little collection. And now I'm going to pick this box up and set it on the double screen dividing board. And remember, I said the inner cover stops the bees from running out, and look how good a job that does. It's, for me, I'm convinced this is the way I'm convinced it works for me, and it may work for you as well. And the tricky part of this is why I like Charlie's being here, because these boxes are really heavy, it is difficult. So it's always great to have help to put your box back on the screen board, but that one went pretty easy. And that is it. That is how you insert the double screen dividing board, how you use it, and what we're looking for when we do it. So Charlie and I got this whole line of hives to go through. And if we find anything interesting along the way, Charlie will grab the camera. All right, yeah, all right. So how long did that take us?
About 4 hours.
Yeah, that's not too bad. We did 30 hives is what we did. And I guarantee it wouldn't have taken us that long if we hadn't replaced, we did
4 boxes.
5 boxes.
5
boxes, and then one bottom board. Huh?
Yeah.
One bottom board.
Yeah.
So that really did take a lot of time, but you know, other than that, it really did go really fast, except when we were videoing, because we were trying to show you guys what we're doing. When we weren't videoing, we were able to move a little bit quicker.
And if there's anything you don't understand, it's his fault. Not me. I didn't do it.
Yeah, Charlie was always prompting me, look, next time when we click on, this is what you need to talk about. So Charlie is a big help on that. Let me tell you what we did. We placed 22 double screen dividing boards in those hives. And out of the 30 hives, 22 of them, 8 of them, they just weren't developed enough for us to put a board in it. They were close, but not enough. So, like I said earlier, we have to come back in 7 to 10 days. So next week, we'll be back in this yard, and by a week's time, those 8 that didn't have the boards in it, we'll be able to put a board in it for sure. And then the 22 that we did put boards in them, those are we gonna have to. What are we gonna look for in those?
Well, we're going to look for queen cells.
Right. So we can look for emergency cells in those. So that'll be the next video that we post after this one. But I mean, we did pretty good.
I think so. I think we did good.
So I want to show you the amount of
Bird comb.
that we pulled. This is.
Let me grab the camera.
No, I'll do it. I'll just move it,
You're
Charlie.
gonna hold it up?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is
Yeah, there you go.
what
That's good.
we were able to scrape off of that, and this is. I mean, this is a lot of wax. So by the time we go through, you know, the 100 hives that we go to, this was 30 of them right here. So you can imagine 3 more times that much wax, approximately. So it's a significant amount.
Yeah,
We're safe, that's for sure.
sure. There'll be a cup of wax.
Yeah, yeah.
No, it'll be a little bit more than that. But it'll be a nice milk. Yep.
All right, I'm good.
Well, that's it. Thanks for watching.
Keep on watching.
We'll be making more.
It's all we got, right, Charlie? Oh, did I mess that up?
Huh?
I messed that up. We gotta do it again.
You want to do it again?
Yeah, we can do it again.
Well,
Hit it, Charlie.
okay.
Hit it.
Thanks for watching.
Keep on watching.
We'll be making more.
God bless. Mr. Ed,
And good time, Charlie.
we are out of here till when, Charlie?
Till the next video.
God bless everybody. Thank y'all. Look at this, folks. We put this trap out here, how long ago, Charlie?
2 weeks ago.
It was Saturday, 2 Saturdays ago. Today is Monday. So it's 9 days ago
Yep.
we put this trap out here. And look at that. We got our first swarm of the year already. March 9th. And we got bees in the trap. So I'm going to keep these bees here for about another week. Make sure we come back when they're bringing in pollen. And these bees, I'm going to bring them up to the abbey, and then we're going to set these into the long hive that Charlie built for us. That's going to be going inside the peacock pit. Thank you, Jesus. Woohoo!